Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of the Back to the TARDIS podcast, the podcast where we take a look at every single episode of the 2005 revival of BBC's Doctor Who. I'm Jeff.
Hey y'all, it's Aurora.
It's the other bitches, but identity moment. No one. Yeah.
Fucking. Hi, I'm Elise, I'm 19, and I never fucking learned how to read.
But you do give us a certain amount of money per month on Patreon, so.
Yeah, I do that.
Based.
And today, in our final episode of 2021, we are discussing the 2013 50th anniversary special of Doctor Who, The Day of the Doctor, but who else? You know him, you love him, you loathe him, you may be feeling different towards him, Stephen Moffat, Esquire.
So, fun fact about us, this was the very first Doctor Who episode we ever watched live.
Oh, no! Oh, live, okay.
Live, yes. We had caught up.
I thought you were gonna say that it was your first ever, and I was gonna be like, oh no!
No, we had caught up with season 7 before this because we watched, because I think only season 7A was on Netflix, and we had borrowed a DVD set from our sister's high school friend to watch 7B because we did not know how to use legitimate sites, very legitimate sites on the internet yet. And then
I think we jumped on at very similar times then, because this and Time of the Doctor were the last ones on Netflix when I started, so I think I started watching it like that.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I think they might have taken a break.
Did this come out in like Thanksgiving time around then?
November, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I remember it because I had to watch it at my dad's family's house, and I had to borrow their TV. And they were just like, what the fuck are you watching? And I was like, you don't get it. It's amazing, because I was 11 and I talked like that.
No, exactly. See, yeah. And as I mentioned, I can't say I'm an OG, but I started, my parents had been getting the DVD box sets since pretty much the beginning of the revival, so they're the OGs, I guess.
I forget if I first watched it like this, but I knew this was when Doctor Who was like at its pinnacle pretty much in America. I either saw this in theaters first, or I watched it like on TV and then later saw it in theaters. I remember it being one of those like
theatrical release.
Yeah, it did. It was the first to get a big theatrical release. Damn. And they did that. They did that a lot in Moffat tenure.
Yeah, I forget if they did it
this before.
I forget if they did it with Time of the Doctor, but
they did fucking Deep Breath in theaters.
Yeah, I saw Deep Breath in theaters. So yeah,
I'm kind of disappointed I missed that one. Deep Breath is pretty good.
Yeah, Deep Breath.
Yeah.
I saw Deep Breath at a church event.
Nice.
You moments.
Was that like a con?
No, it was literally just like an event at the Studio City Church.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It's just one of those...
You vibing with the Reapers watching Deep Breath.
I love Mass Effect. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just reminds me of like the whole fucking like internet culture, like especially around like this episode and this event.
Yeah.
Just thinking like how the 60th is gonna be, and how it's not gonna be anything like this.
And then the Tumblr fan base significantly shrunk because 13-year-old Tumblr girls couldn't understand the appeal and attractiveness of autism-coded Scotsmen.
Yeah, that was Sisyphus's sister. She said that to our face, pretty much.
She has matured since then, I hope. But yes, sadly, the average man taste of maturity of the average Tumblr user at that time was not sufficiently cultivated to appreciate the richness of a gilf.
or the richness of those eyebrows, because hot damn.
Hot.
Anyways, this is the episode we're supposed to be talking about.
Yeah, anyways, yeah. So yeah, this is another big Moffat spectacle fest, but it's 90 minutes and everything in it that's a Moffat like it's 90 minutes, and pretty much everything in it is constrained to its runtime and not relying on things either before or after it. So it's actually really good this time, unlike pretty much any time a Moffat Spectacle Fest happened last season.
It's so impressive to come off of like the previous episodes straight into this and just be like, he really like pulled it together for this. Like it's hard to tell because like I know, you know, I get sick of the Moffatisms sometimes, but like I don't know what it is. Like he just like pulled it together after the last episode and just really started hitting home runs with his Moffat bullshit.
It's his Moffatisms at his most bullshit to all of their glory and all of their but it's good.
That sounds about right to me. I think I wrote down several. I can't see it in my notes because this is like a wall of text right now, but like I wrote down several times, this is kind of bullshit. But to be fair, I didn't rewatch any of season 7B except for Nightmare in Silver. And I hate myself for choosing to rewatch that one. It wasn't even good enough to make my goddamn Mega Man 8 meme. And now I rewatched this one, and it's pretty good. But I don't have the immediate, like, I didn't just come off of everything else, so it's a bit of a different perspective for me. But yes, I do remember Name of the Doctor being bad.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, Name of the Doctor has fuck all to do with this, to be really honest.
Yeah.
It really doesn't.
The most you can nitpick
about is, like, why is Clara just in a school, and how did the Doctor find her? And just, like, like there are a lot of contrivances in this story.
So many fucking contrivances.
Like there's definitely a lot of points where it's just like it doesn't make sense. And we've talked a lot about things that don't make sense in Doctor Who, and I think we've sort of come to a pretty solid distinction between things that don't make sense, but it doesn't really matter that they don't make sense. And I think most of them in this episode absolutely fall into that. Like it just, you don't even care like about all the contrivances because it just kind of like it works as a story, and that's good enough.
I was trying too hard to take notes is what happened.
Yeah. No, I was just watching it and enjoying it. By the way, probably not everyone watched it, so I'm just going to briefly go over it. The mini-sode, The Night of the Doctor, where Paul McGann comes back. It's immaculate. It's really fucking good. He's only on screen for 5 minutes, but it's just really amazing. And honestly, like, there's some bits of it that feel a little bit like ham-fisted and melodramatic and stuff, but it's really, really solid. It gives him a send-off that he deserves that is beautifully tragic. And Paul McGann is fantastic, and I think he should show up on screen more often.
Canonizes some Big Finish companions too.
Yes, he mentions like Charlie and Lucy and such by name. But yeah, that also lets them explain like where the War Doctor came from, which takes us to our beginning where we find Clara, who's now working as a school teacher. And apparently to what some of the people in this voice call would consider a MILF. I disagree, but okay.
We're shutting this
sorry.
I'm not pointing.
I just think that being a teacher inherently carries some paternal vibes, and so if you happen
they do make a
is there something you want to tell us about there, buddy?
They do literally make a joke about fucking like the War Doctor literally goes, if I grow to be half the man you are, Clara Oswald.
Yeah. Can we retroactively call that base gender fluidity?
Why the fuck not?
Yeah, let's go for it.
I forgot first of all the open intro, like doing like its classic shtick and then fading into Coal Hill. That's a nice touch. I just like, this is in retrospect, but the fact that we've basically had 3 iterations of Coal Hill with this its appearance in Series 8/Series 9. I forget if it's in there. And then the fucking, like, revamp with class. It's just like, this school... Is this school a TARDIS? Is it just changing its interior every, like, 5 years?
No, you can't suggest things like that, because I'm going to go off on a conspiracy theory that I didn't think of until you mentioned that. So...
No, man, go off.
Yeah,
you paid for your time on here. Let's go.
Okay. No, like, I have to make it up as I go along. We have to talk about the episode. I'll come back to it maybe at the end. Maybe. Okay. I'm not promising anything.
I will say I do the classic intro fade in. I remember 11-year-old us was hype as shit for that. It was so smooth, and especially just the sign for the alleyway where the Doctor first met the bitches or whatever they were called. The people.
The bitches.
Yeah, sure. Close enough.
The alleyway, where the TARDIS was.
Yeah.
Based misogynist. We love women. Yeah, this one thing I noticed at the very beginning was how, like, well shot this is. There's sort of a cinematic quality, and, like, I'm sure I'll bring it up, but there's, like, a lot of, like, good close-ups and good, like, shot, reverse shot shit that isn't necessarily absent in the TV, but in the TV series proper, but it feels like, I don't know, again, more cinematic is the perfect way to describe it. I had always assumed they brought in a special director for this, but no, this guy is, like, the guy who did this directed The Girl Who Waited, The God Complex back in Series 6.
Yeah.
Did Asylum of the Daleks.
all those look really good.
Yeah, Asylum of the Daleks.
Asylum of the Daleks is a piece of shit, but it looks good.
Yeah, and Angels Take Manhattan. So it's like, I was impressed they got, like, a TV guy for this, and yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, like, we have discussed how when this era looks quote-unquote cinematic, it looks better than the Chibnall era trying to look prestige TV, which is also trying to look cinematic.
Yeah, because I feel like
up at least once more.
Well, because I've said before, like, this, even now, there's a lot of obvious CGI, but it doesn't, like, there's still a sort of balance there where it's cinematic, but in a very, it's cinematic in a way befitting a TV movie, I think, versus Chibnall era cinematic, where it's like, what if we tried really hard to be the MCU with a fraction of the budget?
Or like J.J. Abrams.
Yeah, and it's just like, here's just a bajillion CGI sledge fests. Versus here, where I think they use a lot more.
Or like, look at our fancy cameras. Where, okay, actually, I will admit, the lighting was not fucked for Flux. They finally figured out how to use their cameras. Congratulations.
Yeah, but I think they do really do a good job with the shots in this, and I think they nail a sort of middle ground between, like, showiness and, like, keeping it well directed. That
absolutely. Yeah. And it manages to, like, still, like, it still manages to really feel like a big special event occasion, even though obviously, like, it is still slightly hamstrung by budgetary things. Like, it manages to feel sufficiently epic. Like, I think, like, for example, the opening with, like, the TARDIS being, like, carried in by helicopter is, like, a good example of, like, something that's not, like, expensive, but definitely is something they probably wouldn't have done for just a normal series episode. It looks, like, really nice.
Yeah, it looks cool, and it really establishes the tone. Like, this is, like, a big mission. They're being dragged in and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Although, they get pulled in by unit.
Okay, before this, I have one thing I want to mention.
Okay.
So I think Kate Stewart is technically a Zygon. It doesn't matter for this part. When Osgood goes up to talk to her, she says, like, she's already talking on the phone with someone or something, and she says, like, the Ravens are looking a bit sluggish. Tell Malcolm they need new batteries.
Yeah,
the birds aren't real thing is good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, okay, right. Yes. So, and they show the 3D painting, which is that's a effect that like looks good.
Yeah, I was really
without probably being too expensive. Also, I think when they showed this in theaters, it was actually like shown in like 3D, like stereoscopic 3D.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I mean that effect is super cool, and I think, I mean, you already mentioned this, but it's like it's something that's obviously it ends up being important, and it's self-contained within the episode, and I think they introduce a lot of really interesting things in this episode, and the paintings are one of them. Like sort of introducing it in the episode and using it in the same episode in a really good way. I think they make a lot of really interesting choices in this episode. Like, considering the direction of the story is meant to be like very much building up to the big Gallifrey plot, I think it's interesting that they choose the Zygons as the villain for that, and sort of like a completely new technological thing being in the paintings as a sort of vehicle for that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's an interesting thing where instead of having like your Doctor Who A plot, B plot, it's like kind of two A plots, but what they do is that one A plot is a smaller scale thing of the other A plot that serves to thematically make a point.
Exactly.
Yes.
And they both set up good things. At least the Zygon half sets up a really good two-parter in Series 9.
Exactly.
I don't remember, like, that's a little more arguable that they what they do with Gallifrey, but I guess like
I am a hellbent defender.
This has been
especially considering what its competition is now.
This has been mentioned on the podcast before, but like they kind of go away from exploring the they kind of move on from the exploring the Doctor's trauma from the Time War thing, and that's good because they were spending a lot of it was a large part of the show for several years, and it was getting a bit tiring. I still think it's compelling every time it's in the show, but like they couldn't have stretched it out much longer, and it was good that they changed the direction of it.
It was very much a core theme of RTD era, and they couldn't really continue to keep banging on it in the same way.
Yeah.
And I think like when they tried to when they just destroyed Gallifrey again, it wasn't really as compelling there. Partially because it's like, oh well, we've already seen this, and partially because it's just not executed very well.
Yeah. You could argue that they do this with 12 a bit too, but with like 12's angst and trauma, it's more like he's frustrated that he's still without a home and he's looking.
Yeah.
It's like a similar vibe, but not the same.
It's like a natural evolution of it.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
So as much as I don't like, we'll get into it. As much as I kind of think the resolution is a mixed bag, I'm just glad, like, for thematic and narrative purposes alone, that it sort of gave new writers potentially the ability to move on from Gallifrey being destroyed. And, like, that, like, dynamic.
And I think it's just, it's at the end of the day, it's a really solid conclusion to that sort of whole arc, I would say. I think it's an interesting thing that they never really... They never go too much into what exactly the Doctor did, and I'm glad they saved it until this point.
Yeah.
Where they could really explore it and then resolve it at the same time. Well, not completely resolve it, but at least give it some sort of fitting conclusion to, as you say, move on to like him sort of trying to find Gallifrey more specifically.
Yeah.
In regards to the RTD finale, with the Gallifrey stuff, I don't know. I almost consider this kind of like a soft retcon of that.
It is.
It is.
It is a soft
It
retcon.
halfway is, but they do pay lip service to it.
It is a soft retcon, but I think it's one that does, like, it considers what the emotional core of it is and considers how it can respectfully, like, I think it's a respectful one. It's not just fucking around just because, like, it does consider, like, why the decision was made in the first place.
It also doesn't, like, erase the emotional impact of it.
Yeah.
They even call it out. It's just like, we won't remember this, so we'll still think we did destroy Gallifrey. So none of that.
Yeah.
Going back to those episodes, it doesn't feel like anything is lost, because the trauma he feels from that is real, even if said event didn't happen how he remembered it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, you know, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain, but I kind of considered this like the way it happened all along because they don't remember it to begin with.
Oh no, that's what they say, is that it is. It's just that 11 is the one who remembers it, so that's what they are treating it as.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, no, absolutely.
I'm trying to remember the specifics. In the RTD finale, what was it they were breaking out of again? Because wouldn't that have been a time snapshot?
It was them breaking out of, like, I think that like canonically happened like right before this.
Okay.
Yeah, because again, they pay lip service to it. They say like the High Council's plan has already failed or something.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
So that's what they're talking about when they mention that.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah. That was. So yeah. And of course we're introduced to John Hurt as the Doctor here, and of course, obviously, he's absolutely wonderful and a highlight of the episode, and it's a shame. Like, it is kind of a Derek Jacobi thing where it's like, man, it is a shame that this amazing actor was wasted on, well, I say wait, like, he's good here, but you know, ended up being just like a one-off. And I mean, some of like one-off on screen, and obviously some of that is because he did, I think, one Big Finish box set and then unfortunately passed away before they could do any more. But yeah, no, he's just really great.
We did still get more on screen of him than we got of War Master, though.
Yes.
So
yeah, I have a hot take regarding this. I think.
Okay.
So the War Doctor, I think on paper, at least how it's implemented, isn't that especially like groundbreaking or impressive. It's just John Hurt is John freaking Hurt and can elevate that performance. Because to me, I'm just thinking like, well, we don't really get into, like, the 11th Doctor says that this incarnation had more blood on his hands than like any other before. But what we see within the text of the episode is on Gallifrey, takes gun, writes gun graffiti.
We don't see any of the inciting events that get him to the point where he goes, fuck this shit.
Exactly. You only see like the final, almost said final solution.
Oh no.
His resolution, his choice on ending the war. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it's like I have trouble thinking of a Doctor before him that wouldn't do that too. And again, maybe that's just me. But by the time the episode ended, I was like, okay, John Hurt is really good in this role, like, all things considered, with what, you know, Chris Eccleston refusing and everything. Like, I'm glad he's in this part, and I'm glad he was, like, here to elevate the material, but...
And I've hot-taked before, I don't think 9 could have been the one to do it. Like, I think, really, like, all that has to be said is Dalek or Parting of the Ways, where he is almost about to do it, but can't go through with it.
I think, honestly, whatever version of the script that Moffat wrote, like, with 9 in it, was probably pretty different. I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, well...
And it is a big shame that they couldn't get him back, but I also very much understand why. Like, I probably wouldn't want to do it either.
We'll never know.
So,
it's just, like, something about, like, a pre-9, or not a pre-9, a pre-Rose 9 like, and seeing all that darkness that we just get hinted at, like, a part of that intrigues me and sees, like, I wonder how he could have played, like, with 10 and 11, because it isn't, like, 9 with Rose and Jack and 10 and 11. It's, like, 9 before he got, like, his spark back.
That's true, but also, like, they already set up that, like, 9 was, like, a relatively new incarnation, and because, like, so much of 9 feels like his personality was created as being this incarnation that comes hot off the heels of this and not the one that actually did it.
Sure, I could see it going either way. I'm not saying this is necessarily, like, lore breaking, because we've been through the Chibnall era and we know what lore breaking is. It's just something, I think a lot of people either, like, really hate the decision or really love it, and I'm just like, it's good, but I think it could have been better. The only reason I think it's, like, of note is because, again, John freaking Hurt. But anyway, that's my whole
also
hang-up.
I do think yes, you're not wrong. War isn't the only one that could have done it. However, the ones that I think could have done it would have been, like, 6 and 7. Like, 8 could never have. No matter how far he was pushed, 8 could never have done it.
And I think that's really interesting. I find the idea of the War Doctor very conceptually interesting, because you have...
Yes.
It's hard to try... I haven't watched Classic, but I think there is sort of this contrast between 7 straight to 8, and then the fact that you have to replace 8 with somebody else because 8 could not have been it, and everything after Hurt is just like, there's no way they can do it again. And I think that just, like, I think just conceptually the divide between Classic and New Who being the Time War is just such a fascinating...
Yeah, it's a perfect like writing invention on RTD's part.
It's so good, and it just allows it really allows for the Doctors to be that significantly different in New Who and have a really good reason for it.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I also think it's very interesting how, for something that is not planned out, you do have a fairly interesting, compelling arc of, like, you have your Doctors 1 through 5, and 1's a little bit prickly. You get the sense that it's, like, his first time really interacting with humans. He steals his TARDIS and he runs, but he becomes, from what I understand, this fairly, like, warm, grandfatherly individual. And then you have 2, the cosmic bum, 3, the super spy, 4, this sort of slightly, like, the more alien kind of cosmic bohemian, like, weird guy, but still very personable, just shares kind of a general, like, it's kind of, like the 12 thing, where it's like, I don't have, like, time or patience to deal with idiots or bullshit. And then you have 5, who, although I think a lot of 5's tenure isn't very good, I think what they do with it, in the fact that 5 was a very sweet individual, much more mild-mannered, who, like, enjoyed traveling the universe and didn't really have, didn't have kind of the same prickliness as some of the other Doctors, who then, in Caves of Androzani, is put in just an extremely unpleasant situation. And we've talked about this before. It is almost Midnight levels of being placed in an extremely, like, unpleasant situation that he can't do his normal shtick out of, and just will not respond to his attempts to try and be kind and diplomatic, and literally dies a painful death of poisoning after saving his companion, and therefore sort of regenerates into this more erratic, pompous personality that is 6, who's a little bit more pricklier, obviously. And then 6 becomes 7, who is colder and has gotten to the point where he is taking the initiative on encounters and is actively seeking out evil in the universe with a plan in place to defeat it from the get-go. But he gets weary of that, and in a lot of the Wilderness Years material, it's very clearly discussed that that attitude and his coldness and his willingness to use his companions and his friends as pawns in whatever schemes he's got going on alienates them from him. And I think in several different, like, across, like, both VNAs and radio plays and all sorts of canons, pretty often Ace gets pissed at him for pulling some shit and walks. Even if, like, and this is in several different canons in the already dubious canonicity of the Doctor Who universe. And he becomes this much more weary, tired individual who literally gets shot to death by accident, but regenerates into this much more youthful, romantic figure again, who also lives a long time but gets completely broken. And then that sort of influences War Doctor, who then influences the rest of the Doctors up through 12. And then if Chibnall era was well written, I'd say 13 is the first one to finally move on from some of that baggage. But nope, they just gave her more baggage instead. Anyways,
and that's the show, folks. Thank you for listening.
I don't even remember what the initial point of my spiel was now. I've been on that for so long.
I'm going to be real with
like
you. I
5
zoned out
minutes.
for a significant amount of that.
I'm sorry.
This is my PowerPoint presentation.
I think we were just talking about how the Time War works as an interesting influence for the Doctors, and how the War Doctor is good for framing the natures of the Doctors after him. And I think that's a theme a lot in just like so much of this episode. Again and again, you know, it's very Moffat-y, just like the, oh my god, the warrior, the hero, but you know, we already have, the universe has enough warriors and anyone can be a hero. We need a doctor.
But also, there's moments where, like, he seems self-aware of his bullshit. Like, the War Doctor as a character seems partly there to poke fun at his bullshit and New Who's in general's bullshit.
Yeah.
And, the bit where 10 has this extremely pompous speech and is like, oh, no, wait, you're just a rabbit. Okay.
That was another good one. That was another one that was in my notes. That's so good.
I really love
I think that's like taken
those around.
A lot of that dialogue
do?
is taken from. I think a lot of that is taken verbatim from Voyage of the Damned. It's like fucking. I don't.
Yeah.
I can't find it because I can't read my notes.
I absolutely love the. What are you going to do? Assemble a cabinet at them?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Like he literally feels like a friendly like ribbing of like what is more of a classic ideal to basically the two biggest examples of the New Who ideal. And it's good. It's really good. But I think what makes this work and is kind of the difference, because, you know, obviously Twice Upon a Time, their depiction of the First Doctor is generally not the most liked in the fan base and generally considered pretty inaccurate. But what works here is that it feels like once he gets to understand them more, that he genuinely does integrate into this and work with them incredibly well. And you see sort of that bridge start to form.
For sure.
Of realizing that, yes, they are all this person, just at different points in time.
Yeah, and I think, I think that does sort of get conveyed through the use of the screwdrivers a bit. Like, he becomes more and more willing to use his own in the very goofy ways. And so at the end, all three of them, like, use their thing together and point it at the Dalek and blast it away through the pane of glass.
That's a dumb thing. That's just like, okay.
They do at least one other dumb thing.
Fuck you. It's cool.
You know what I have in my fuck you for the screwdrivers, where the scene where they use them as fucking innuendos. I can't find it.
Yeah.
But I know it. Like, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I can't find. My notes are literally like wall of text. Like, I'll screenshot my fucking Notepad plus thing and put it in the.
I thought that was funny. Okay.
Well, yes, obviously.
One of us is allowed to have bad taste. Okay.
It was funny,
it's
but
fine.
I also went fuck you in my head when I saw it.
You don't think Moffat's wife guy shit is cringy? Of course, you thought that was funny.
I did appreciate Moffat canonically establishing who is more horny, 10 or 11, just with the whole like Queen Elizabeth Zygon like make out extravaganza where
no, 10 is actually genuinely more horny. The 11 horniness is weird because it's inconsistent as to whether or not he's portrayed as like more asexual or not.
Yeah, exactly. So I was just like, okay, little bit of redemption there. I don't remember if he does anything cringe in Time of the Doctor. He probably will, though, because it's Time of the Doctor.
He better not. He's old in that.
He does, remember? Remember the clothes bit?
No,
remember
like,
that?
The part where he's not old is when that happens.
Right, but also, old or not old, that is something cringy that happens.
Oh, yeah. Fuck.
I forgot. You didn't have to remind me of that.
That's what we're here for. We remember it so you don't wait.
The review must go on.
Oh god. No! No! Nostalgia Critic the Wall, no!
Doug, don't sue us. I have no money.
The ad read bit that's like the sped up him looking at the computer, but it's the reaction to Timeless Child.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, while we're talking about John Hurt, the moment is really clever. It's a way to bring Billy Piper back and be like, hey guys, without giving me ulcers by bringing Rose back. Because bringing Rose back would have sucked.
Yeah. Yeah, she was pretty good in this. Also, she I remember we had this fucking, I don't know, but it was something I noticed in series 4 at the end when they brought her back. Then she seemed like kind of different. Like, her voice was deeper. Which, by the way, I noticed that 10's like his voice just sounds kind of gravelly and deeper in this. It's weird.
Mm-hmm. His hair
matches series 2, and that makes me mad.
Yeah, no, his hair is awful in this. It should be way spikier.
Yeah.
It just looks all like it is so close to
He looks like he did in early series 2. Is what it looks like.
I was going to say it looks worryingly close to like Spider-Man 3 emo Tobey Maguire.
Oh god.
That's
I
low.
haven't seen that movie.
That's low. But accurate.
But yeah. I mean, he's good here. He's not... It feels like they put a lot more into... they put a lot more into... like, the War Doctor and 11's bit than 10's bit, but that's fine. We've had a lot of 10, especially at this point in time. We've had a lot of 10.
We still have a lot of 10.
I don't need 10 to be the focus. That's what I'm saying. Like, at this point in time that we are in right now, it's like, yeah, we don't need to have like more high focus 10. I'm fine with this.
He also sort of serves as the, like, transitionary period of, like, yeah, 11 has a lot of 10 light mannerisms in his, like, more poorly written episodes, but it's like, he's genuinely moved on. Like, by Series 6, there isn't a lot of angst about Gallifrey. There's that one, you know, the Doctor's wife, but other than that, it's like, who the fuck are the Silents? Who's River Song? Who's my wife? You know, what the hell?
My wife.
Same idea.
Oh my god. That was perfectly timed.
See, I'm just I'm just so deficient from doing that because me and my friend who, like, our FF14 characters are married in game, like, do that all the time, but they haven't been able to play the game recently because of finals, so
this is so sad.
Yes. Anyways, yeah, no, it's like, does he just kind of feel like he's there? Yes, but also it's fine. It's fine. And I think 3 doctors is a pretty optimal amount.
Also, honestly, the revelation or the resolution with 10 at the end, where he's the one that says, you were the doctor, like, more than any of us were, or something like that.
Yes, on the day when you couldn't get it right. Yes. No, that's one of my favorite lines.
Yeah, so the fact that, like,
that's one of those lines that's like, oh yeah, when he's not high off his own farts, Stephen Moffat is a really good writer.
Yeah.
And then he says the "I don't want to go" thing in the same scene.
Yeah, no,
that shit
makes me so mad. That shit makes me so mad.
So stupid.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the fact that, like, 10, I think it's important that 10 is here. It is certainly, if 9 can't be here, then 10 has to be here to sort of fulfill, like, to embody the distillation of what the RTD era was for the Doctor's character.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah, the fact that he's, like, standing in solidarity with the War Doctor when that would be more painful for him to do, because it's more fresh, like, that's some good stuff. It's just, you know, obviously he's not the current Doctor. We don't get him with a companion, which I kind of debated back and forth. It's like, could Martha really do anything here? Could Donna, like, what would be the point other than to have it be fan service?
It would overcrowd the episode.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm glad they have it here. I think the only other solution you could have been was, like, hey, here's a interim companion that 10 had between Waters of Mars and whatever the fuck. I'm forgetting his regeneration episode. But yeah, that just wouldn't have worked.
Okay, Elise just posted a picture of the transcript about the War Doctor saying that the interface is hot, is in, like, literally, like, temperature-wise hot, and the moment responding with, well, I do my best. This may be because it's Billy Piper, so it gives the illusion of RTD era, which I have a noted bias towards, but I thought that was funny.
It was good.
I thought it was dumb, and also it amused me. So
that was good.
Exactly, like RTD.
It still felt Moffat horny to me, I'm gonna be honest. But
it was great.
I don't know.
Also, Billy Piper is hot, so it was accurate.
Yes.
It's a combination.
True.
It's a combination from the big MILF energy that Bad Wolf puts out, and the, like, snark of Rose Tyler.
So which one is the MILF then? This is important now.
Well, obviously Bad Wolf, because her energy is from the Vortex, which is, like, as old as time itself. So big MILF energy. Billy Piper is also a MILF now. Anyways, stop poisoning the discourse. No, yeah, I truly believe, like, she's doing sort of like a mix, I guess, of those two characters for the interface, because the interface does confuse them at first. Again, we've already talked about it. It's a good performance. There's not much to say. I think it honors, like, Billy Piper's importance in how successful Doctor Who was, and, like, how she was instrumental in bringing it back. So that's neat.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, the Zygons.
Yeah, the Zygons. It's weird, like, it makes sense given how much they're juggling in the episode and the fact that it needs to be, like, a smaller version of the plot anyways. But it's, like, I think it probably, like, I can let it pass in retrospect because obviously they do come back to this with Zygon invasion later. But it's like, wow, this is pretty short.
Yeah.
Like when you actually like really think about it. But I think that's fine because it's short because it allows character it allows the time then to be used for more character moments.
And I think it's honestly such a good plot when you just look at it on its own. Because like, I mean, you have showing up to the museum, you have discovering, you know, something's broken out. You have going back into the past and then discovering them invading the future from the past, and then you have the thing with the statues. The statues moment is a really good thing.
Yeah, this episode really does play with time more than most, doesn't it?
Yeah. It does a good job of it too, I think. I think
they don't even use the TARDIS for it.
Yeah. The whole concept of just like they're coming into the future through paintings from the past and the cup-a-ramen jokes.
Yeah.
And then, just like the statues thing is such a good moment. The like, oh, that's weird. The dust on the ground doesn't match any of the buildings. And then Osgood has her moment where it's like, whatever must have broken out of the paintings, they needed a place to hide. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Again, this episode, especially the Zygon plot, is such a testament to like Moffat when he's on his bullshit. In a good way, because like you take a look at it and it's like, okay, why would the Zygons wait until humanity can resist them more to conquer it? But it's of course because we need to set up the, you know, the cubes and the paintings so it can be used later for the Time War. It's like, yeah, you could pick that apart, but in the moment it fucking works so well to tie everything together. And of course, Series 9, again, as we've, like, multiple times, I think all of us have brought up at this point how good that two-parter is. So, yeah, even though they don't do the most with, like, the refugee themes or stuff like that here, it's still good to, like, tie the two A-plots together thematically and, like, give off the narrative device. As much as I sort of cringe at all the, like, 10 horny Elizabeth jokes, it's still a good time.
Yeah.
I have a couple things. One, I just now noticed the Zygon half of this plot is basically Super Mario 64.
What?
Go on.
With the paintings.
The paintings, yeah. No, I got that, yeah.
Okay. And then second, a very weird thing happening to me when I was growing up, having seen this episode several times. Every single time, I would forget what the Zygon resolution was. So for a while, I thought that they just didn't resolve the Zygon plot. And I was totally wrong about that, but like, I don't understand how that happened.
No, what happens is for some reason, even though I know logically that can't be what happened, I always think that you can't remember which is human and which is Zygon bit is the one for invasion inversion, when it's like, oh wait, no,
same.
Wait,
Why
right,
did I think that?
That can't be the case because the whole plot of that, the whole point of that is predicated on 12's big speech, which doesn't make any sense if he could just make them forget. And especially because I remember 11 and 10 and 11 sonicking the thing. It's really weird, but yes,
no. For some reason, I literally have the exact same thing. I didn't think that this was in this episode until they walked into the Black Archive, and I was like, oh shit, it's the thing.
Yeah.
Also, can we just talk about how
a pretty baller plotting moment?
Can I just talk about the Black Archive is cool as shit?
Yeah.
Like,
I think it was kind of...
Yes, this is a total overreach of state powers and it's extrajudicial and I hate it, but like...
You know what else is? Fucking Torchwood!
Yeah, Torchwood unit. It's all bad. We've kind of just accepted that this is there's a lot of room for anarchist critique in Doctor Who, and I'm just not going to worry about it too much because this is cool.
Yeah.
Also,
I
it just
do feel bad for the.
Exactly.
I feel bad for the guy who works at the front desk and he's just lost 10 years of his life.
That exactly. I was just like, okay,
That's terrible.
There's just no critical examination of that. We're just playing it as a joke. Like, okay.
Can Zygons access? Well, yeah, they show us that in fucking Invasion and Version, because I was gonna ask, can Zygons access the memories of their like base? Because Kate Stewart is mostly a Zygon in most of this.
Yeah. I believe they do mention that they get like some memories, because again, part of the point is that they're supposed to infiltrate, and if you don't gain memories from it, it's kind of hard to infiltrate.
Yeah.
Also, like, fucking when Zygons copy you, they also copy your clothes. So when Osgood,
but not your inhaler.
So when Osgood like tripped her doppelganger by like stepping on her scarf and like pushing her on her, was she like just like stepping on its anatomy and then like tripping that?
Yeah.
They're space magic. Don't worry about it.
The episode brings that up. The episode brings it up and is like, it doesn't matter. Like, because the two Osgoods are talking to each other and they go like, if I lose a shoe or something, like, what happens? And then they just kind of don't answer it, and it's fine.
I do like the writing there of like these two are agreeing that they are not going to bring anything up because they actually believe in the treaty. I think that's good.
And it's good setup for what it would become.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly.
It's so weird. It's so weird that this episode has like, if you think about it, I guess this episode is simultaneously entertaining on its own and good at setup. It's like, what the fuck? Stephen Moffat wrote this? Like, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got the General here. We got Osgood.
Oh, man, you know what else I forgot? What else I thought happened in this episode is they keep bringing up the venom sacs and the tongue thing, and I'm like, am I forgetting a part where, like, 10 gets poisoned? Because they bring it up enough times that they make you think it's going to be a thing, and then they just don't do anything with it.
Yeah.
I think the joke was French kissing. I think that's the extent of the joke.
Yeah, I think that's what the joke is.
No, that thought is not allowed to... No, get that out of here. No.
Share with the class.
That's what their tongue is like. What does Zussy be doing? I can't believe that I'm the one that made that joke.
I don't know whether I'm glad or disappointed that you said that too quietly for me to hear it. I don't know what you said.
Okay. Should I repeat it?
Yes.
Did other people actually hear it?
Nope.
That Zygussy though.
Okay.
Shut up.
Yeah. What the Zussy be doing though? Again, I can't believe I made that joke and not like Sisyphus system.
It's just rubbed off on you at this point.
The Moffat derangement syndrome is just paralyzed.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying those
what's
suction
next?
cups
Me
are
liking
used
A
for
Good Man
something.
Goes to War?
I need to repeat
can't
what
really...
I said now.
You can't really have that.
Don't worry, don't worry. I can make it appear in the through the magic of editing. I'll find out. I'll find out what you said in a couple days when I edit the podcast.
I said those suction cups are used for something.
Oh man, turbo hickeys. Yeah.
God, oh fuck.
Anyways,
do I have a desk? No, and I want a desk. That's another good line. I like that line.
Yeah,
I have to say some of the things in my notes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not organized to take notes. I just take a look at the fucking transcript and like think about what I was thinking about at that time I watched the episode, and then just kind of roll from there.
We just do it from memory.
Yeah. So, yeah. So yeah, the Zygon plot is a little easily resolved, but I think it works. And also, like, there's 3 of them there. I don't feel bad that it's easily resolved because there's literally 3 of them there.
Mm-hmm.
To like put their heads together, and it's not the focus of the episode, and it's not like it's Daleks, it's Zygons.
I have a question I want to posit to people, because while I was watching this, the idea of like, okay, Kate Stewart was introduced as very much like, you know, science is leading the way, like UNIT is different now, and now they're just like, hey, we have a nuke here. We can set that shit off. I'm like, isn't that a bit
Kate Stewart is a very inconsistent character.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, what? Okay, I guess if I really wanted to be, like, critical, it's like, oh, this is an example of how, like, the neoliberal, like, surveillance structure always tends towards a certain method of monopolization of force to deal with our problem, or, like, some shit like that.
That's what we would have said last year.
Yeah, but that's clearly not the thought that was put into this. It was just like, okay, we need Big Bang, we need big analogy to Time War Big Bang. Here you go. Here's your meal, kids. Enjoy.
Series 5, Episode 13, The Big Bang.
Yeah.
13. Oh no. Oh god.
No.
Oh no.
That said, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. They totally would have a nuke.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's wrapped up easily, and then that allows them, like, I think the thing too is that it's a case where it has a resolution and then it misleads you, but both the original, what you think you're going to get, and what it actually resolves to be, I think would be perfectly, like, I think they'd both work perfectly fine as ends to the episode that are equally poignant.
Yeah, there was a part of me, I literally wrote this down. As I was getting up to that part, there was a part of me that was like, I kind of wish they'd ended it like this.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as they, like, get into, as soon as the plot starts going the other direction, I was like, okay, this is good, actually. I forgot.
Yeah.
It's like, I really wish they pushed down on that Chaos Emerald.
It totally is! And that's in my notes, too. Hold on. Is that in my screenshot that I sent? Chaos Emerald? I don't remember if that's part... I know I wrote that down in my notes. I don't remember if that's in my notes that I sent. I sent a screenshot of some of them.
This is what happens when Obama loses control of the Chaos Emerald.
Oh, no, yes. Okay, I remember what I wrote. I wrote, fucking, the resolution to this episode is actually Sonic Adventure 2, because they fucking chaos control the Emerald away.
Yeah!
They chaos control Gallifrey away. Or Shadow the Hedgehog if you're in a bad mood.
The only difference is the War Doctor does not fall to Earth and burn up in re-entry. Also live and learn does not play, which frankly is a missed opportunity.
Cringe. RTD, get on that. Get Crush 40 for Series 14.
Yes.
I'm gonna bring up on the air how his world from Sonic 06 is just Day of the Doctor, because that needs to be on this podcast somewhere.
Okay.
That's they're the same song. Sorry, will not explain further.
Cool.
Noted.
Okay. So yeah. I'll also take this moment to talk about how this is actually very funny, the thematic ideas and resolution of this episode, because it's very similar to the thematic ideas presented in, drumroll everybody, Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker.
Nerd.
Where it's like, you know, not giving in to despair and always trying to find another better way. So, yeah. Y'all should play Final Fantasy XIV. Moving on.
The scene where all the doctors join the three main ones in our principal cast, that's some, like, Avengers Endgame portal shit before...
Yeah.
This walked so that Avengers Endgame could run, is what I'm saying.
This hits me harder than Avengers Endgame portal, but I also don't like most MCU stuff at this point.
Valid.
Like,
when those...
I would agree, but it would not be a valid agreement because I've not seen most Marvel things. I've only seen a few Marvel movies, and that's one of them, but, like, I haven't seen any of the setup, so...
Yeah.
This hits me harder, but, like, by default.
Oh no, when we see the brief flash of, like, no sir, all 13, and then those, like, that stare and those eyebrows, that gave me so much serotonin.
Woo! Yeah, let's go.
Just like 12. That whole climax had me, like, I remember watching it the first time, and I remember being overwhelmed by autism juice then, and I was watching it now, and I was like, I was grinning my ass off. I was doing all the autism. I was just like, so much excitement. It's such a good moment, and I think it's what really sells this episode for me, is just that, like, it's such a good climax. Like, they sell it
Common
so
Peter
well.
Capaldi W.
Yes.
It's just his eyebrows, and it elevates the episode at least
yes.
at one point.
I remember like how absurdly excited I was, because I was like, you know, I don't know British actors, but I was like, oh my god, we saw a bit of 13, and then I went online later and found out it was some guy called Peter Capaldi, which I didn't really care about, because just the fact that they revealed the next Doctor was what really sold it to me.
Yeah, because he'd been
I
revealed
remember that being really hype at the time.
He'd been revealed in August, and this came out in November. So that was absolute first look.
I have to say, I'm really glad that they say all 13 and not all infinite amount because of the timeless child.
No, I would respect the fuck out of this, okay? So every time there's a new incarnation of the Doctor, one thing they all do, aside from filming their, like, regeneration scene, is they film a brief snippet of the next one being, and all 14, and then they just, like...
Yeah, to the point where they start deep faking the guy.
Yeah.
Because he's long dead.
No. Oh my god.
Anyways. Yeah.
My notes say that I kind of wish we got to stick around for more of the Zygon resolution, and yeah, I still feel that way. Because they kind of
Zygon invasion, though.
That's true. No, I just meant, like, the actual, like, forming of that treaty would have been interesting to watch, even though it wouldn't have been good for, like, Doctor Who. But
we need
like,
an hour-long mockumentary. We need an hour-long mockumentary of those negotiations.
They kind of faked us out on this. They kind of faked us out on this twice now,
do it.
Because they did it in the Silurian episode too, except that episode doesn't even, like, do it. That episode abandons the whole idea. At least this episode goes through with it and sets up a really good two-parter, so I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
You know.
But yeah, get Taika Waititi to do a Zygon mockumentary. That would be funny. So yeah, oh yeah, obviously there's the appearance of the curator. It's lovely to see Tom Baker, especially because, like, Tom Baker kind of had a Christopher Eccleston thing, but, like, the inverse, whereas, like, Christopher Eccleston stayed around for stayed around for one season, but then left and had kind of fell out with the role entirely. Tom Baker stayed way too long, to the point where it was negatively impacting his mental health, and then just kind of walked away from it for a long while. So it's nice to see him actually back for this, in this little bit role.
I've often heard it said as a plot hole, 11 shouldn't remember being told to look for Gallifrey, but they're very clear that there's even though it shouldn't work this way, the loophole is that they don't explicitly acknowledge that they're the same person, which is just the type of dumb sci-fi Doctor Who bullshit that I'm just like, okay, Stephen Moffat, you got this one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then you have your final shot, which, though this is probably the biggest special effect failure of them pasting the other Doctors in. It's fine, they don't hover on it too long, but if you look closely at all, it falls apart.
Yeah, I remember even when I was young, that effect looked bad, but I didn't care because it's just it's a moment that does what it needs to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Look, we're not in end of time copy-pasted master over generic backgrounds anymore.
That was funny,
I'm
though.
Glad.
That was funny and played
Fair
for
enough.
camp, though.
Fair enough. Fair enough. One more thing I want to mention. The War Doctor's TARDIS interior looks really fucking cool.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
Round things commentary.
Absolutely.
We're walking.
He's got the round things. Yeah.
The first time they show it, it's when the TARDIS is glitching and using the different consoles. And I thought that it was a classic TARDIS blending with 10's TARDIS, but no, they show at the end that it's just the War Doctor's TARDIS, and it looks really cool. Mm-hmm. And I wish that it was in other things, and it's not. That's kind of cringe.
I mean, design-wise, it is a classic TARDIS being melded with 10's TARDIS. That's explicitly what the design idea is. It's just not that in canon.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough, yeah. It looks cool, though.
Yeah, no, it is. It's really great, and probably it is probably the second best of all the TARDIS interiors that are shown in this episode, because the best is obviously still the 7B and 12 TARDIS interior, which is the best interior the show has ever had, and it's such a shame that we went directly from it to one of the worst.
Rip.
F. Anyways. That's about it for me, unless anybody has anything more.
I have two quick things, and then I'll let others say their piece. Oh god, and I may have forgotten one of them. Anyways, we're walking. One thing I picked up on that I hadn't really ever in all the previous watch-throughs is that I think you can make a strong case for 12 looks how he is because Roman guy and references, but also a big thing of the War Doctor is that he pointedly says why are you two so ashamed of acting like grown-ups? And I think both thematically and visually, what we see in 12 is the Doctor finally willing to I don't know, confront all of his baggage and move past it in a healthy way. 12 still starts on a real low point emotionally, but I think that still makes sense coming off of Trent's lore and everything. But anyways, just that was a kind of parallel I never really bothered to think about before. So that was cool.
I think the whole thing about showing their age is really important, because Clara has that point where she points out that the War Doctor's eyes are younger, and I think that's such an interesting point, that he looks so much older, but 10 and 11 especially shield their age with their appearance and their personality, and so they are actually older and they have that much more depth. And I think another interesting point is that 11 is a lot older than 10 at this point. Like, because I think 10 is about what was it, like 904, and I think the War
Yeah.
Doctor is about 100 years younger than him, and then 11 is 300 years older than 10. And so it's interesting because, like, we sort of talk you sort of mentioned earlier that 10 is a bit closer to the War Doctor, and I think it's a lot closer. It's hundreds of years closer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting, and also the screwdriver bit with the door was funny, where they figure that out.
I was a little bit mad that the door was unlocked, though. That was dumb.
No, that was great.
Well, that's a thing where, like, the point is that it's dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
So, yeah, no, exactly
I-
what Sisyphus said, just, like, finishing up my thoughts, because I found the other one, is that, seeing 12 sort of, like, self-actualize that moment of, like, it's okay to be, like, who I am, and it's okay to, like, show my age and everything. It's, like, kind of poetic in a way that would be when, like, the quote-unquote, like, gender switch happens, because that's, like, starting off from a whole new base. We didn't get that, but in theory that could have been nice. And last thing I'll say is, for all my, like, minor complaints, I will always appreciate this for, like, being an episode that really digs deep into multiple Doctors' perspectives on major events in their life. It does that better here than I think, like, most New Who has done that with. Koff, Chibnall, but also, like, RTD and Moffat kind of have this in too. So yeah, that's nice. It's a good episode. It's a good time. What do you want? I'm done.
Yeah, I think okay, so with the door thing, I think it's a good moment because the War Doctor also does not check that the door is unlocked, and I think it's a good moment of establishing, like, they really all are the same person, and I think that's important that it comes right after the whole same software, different packaging thing.
No,
and then,
like, you're right, but I also just felt like, come on, But you're right. Like,
shit, there was another thing I was gonna say. Fuck.
The moment is coming.
I lost it. Oh well.
Oh well.
MILF Clara isn't real. Snap out of it. You've been in a coma for 5 years.
We know who the real MILF is. We all know who it is.
Davros.
I don't have to say it.
It's Davros.
Yeah. Let's go with that.
Sure. All right. Yeah, all right. Moving on to ratings, I guess. Yeah. It is much more of a big blockbuster 50th as opposed to, like, a more experimental anniversary like Zagreus was. But I don't mind that. I think despite being more of a big blockbuster thingy, it's helped by the fact that there's more well executed emotional core to it than when Moffat was trying to be super ambitious and blockbustery last season. I think the cast is all great. I think the A plot that were both kind of the two A plots tie into each other very well, even though obviously you don't spend much time on either of them. But, I think it's a really solid overall special. Although it does make me wonder, like, okay, we've seen Stephen Moffat's approach. I wonder what RTD's approach for that will be 2 years from now, basically. So, yeah, it's really solid. It's a solid A episode. Some of the best we've seen in a while, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. It's so hard to summarize this. It's Moffat at all his Moffatness, mostly for the good though, as opposed to Series 6 where that was mostly for the bad. An enjoyable cast all around, really great performances, really great camera work. It's not one of those like fucking like S tiers where like everything is fucking pitch perfect, but everything is good to great, and that's still notable. It'll be interesting to see what the 60th holds, because as of right now, this is our only example for what a New Who anniversary episode looks like. So yeah, it's a solid A.
Yeah. I just really love this episode, like, so much. Like, it's just so campy, and it's everything that Moffat Who can be in my mind. Like, this is what Moffat Who can and should be to me, and it's just I
Yeah.
love how campy it is. I love all of the Moffatisms of it. I love everything
Yeah.
about it, and it's like a total 10 out of 10 for me.
This is a time when I can get behind Moffat's bullshit. When it's executed like this.
So, this episode came out in 2013. The Zygons Sonic lost their own world on the Wii U. A-. I don't know. That's in my notes. I have to say it. Yeah.
All right.
I think A-.
Yeah.
Because, like, if I had been on this from the start, I would be even more of an insufferable RTD stan than Geoff. But like, this was fun. This was fun. There's a reason I was revisiting this for a while, even though I thought I hated Moffat as a whole.
Yeah.
For a long time, and it was actually this podcast that got me to revisit a lot of that stuff, and I'm glad I did, because there's a lot more. It's worth watching, even when some of it is a massive shit show. And this kind of marks the start of a good upturn.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember whether Time of the Doctor is like great, but I think it's not.
No.
It's definitely not as good as this.
Yeah.
But like, following that, I like Series 8 more than you guys seem to, and then
No,
Series 9
I
and
mean,
10, like, cause I'm weird and I like most of Series 8. Like, I think it's
like
better
most of
than
Series 8
I think
too.
it's better than, like, I don't know. Like, I liked the finale of Series 8, you know?
Yeah.
So
It's decent.
it's like I feel like that's been I feel like Series 9 and 10 have been said to be like significantly better. I think they're kind of all on the same level for me. They're all great. So
That's fair.
This is
I can get behind that.
This is a pretty big uptick in quality, and that makes me happy that Doctor Who is getting better. But there are still things about this episode that, like, some of the Moffatisms are not as good with me as they are with everyone else, probably because I wasn't revisiting Moffat era nearly as much while I was growing up with the show. So, like, that's why it ended up in A- for me. But I still like it. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So not next week, because this is our last episode of the year, because we really don't want to be dealing with this during Christmas week, and then we usually take the rest of that off for the holidays. So at some point in January, we will be back with our episode on the Time of the Doctor. Until then, thank you all for listening. It's been a great another year of doing this podcast, even if it's generally been a year where we haven't had as much to say per episode usually as we did in sort of peak RTD. But, you know, it's good, and I think it still really allowed me to find an appreciation for a lot of episodes that I didn't necessarily have before. So thank you all for listening. Thank you, Elise, for guesting on the podcast and kicking us some money on Patreon. If you enjoyed the podcast, you can follow us on Twitter at B2TARDISPod. You can support us on Patreon for a number of benefits, such as early access to episodes, the ability to listen in live to episodes being recorded, and potentially even the ability to guest star upon an episode of your choosing. I'm Jeff. You can follow me on Twitter at WheatleyDL.
I am pondering my Zygorb. You can follow...
Yeah!
Stupid. I'm going out on a high one. You can follow us on at Mice and Femmes on the Twitter.com.
I am getting that suckery suck from the Zygon throat goat Nancy Reagan.
Yeah!
And that's it. That's all I got.
I am the Danger Rap from Mega Man 7. You can find me on Twitter at KDV_granola_bars on Twitter.com.
And we will see you all next year.